Happy 2017! What a better way to kick off a new year with a crappy unlicensed game, right? Believe it or not, I first played this game on my old Windows 95 computer on one of those demo discs that gave you 1,000 games or something like that. Yeah, most of them were shareware, but there were a few games I remember, like another review I have coming up, that was actually fairly good. I remember hating the game then, but then I played the NES version recently, a bit skeptical. I can say that the NES port is a bit better, but it's still far from a good game in my opinion. So let's see the story. You play as Captain Comic, who, according to the manual, is a galactic hero, righter of wrongs, and all-around sort of nice guy. He has to hunt down a few treasures that were going to be used during some sort of ceremony. You just need to find them on a planet Tambi and bring them home so that peacekeeping ceremony doesn't go to shit. It's a simple story, but I suppose it works. The first thing I notice isn't the music, the graphics, or even the lack of story. It's the fact that you don't have an attack. Oh, fuck. This isn't going to be another Linus Spacehead, is it? Thankfully, it is not. You do have a blaster, but you need to find an item called a Blastola Cola first before being able to use it. It's not too far down the road, and it's going to be the first power-up you see. Until you grab this, though, you are completely powerless. After you grab one of these colas, you can now shoot one bullet at a time. I don't know how drinking cola gives you a shot, but hey, whatever. As you find more of these colas, you'll be able to have more shots on the screen, up to 5 at a time. You'll see that there's an ammo meter at the top of the screen as well. You do have infinite ammo, but you don't want this meter to completely drain, because if it does, you can't find it until you get at least one bar back. It does recharge quickly, so as long as you're careful with your shots and don't keep the B button held down, you should be fine. You do also get the jump, thankfully from the beginning of the game, by pressing A. It's normal stuff, where you press A to jump and hold it down to jump higher. You'll be doing a lot of it, since many parts of the game are heavy on the platforming elements. The platforming isn't as smooth as a Mario game though, I can promise you that. The game overall just has a loose feel to it. Comet tends to float around when jumping, and some of the platforms, especially in early areas, feel way too small. So you'll rock the control pad when trying to land on them, just to make sure you don't fall through and die in a pit. There's even a spot where you enter a rocket and then suddenly you're on what looks to me like a moon level. You of course have less gravity, so you can jump higher, and some platforming requires you to take advantage of this. In fact, some jumps have you wondering if you're even going to make it. Some of them look way too far, and you just barely have enough jumping ability to clear the space. But if you didn't know this, it would be a quick, cheap death. There's some other things that really irritate me about the game, and truthfully, some of them are uncommon in these crap unlicensed games. For one, the enemy design is lackluster. The first stage only contains worms and birds. Wow, that's really generic. The worms are typically lower than your standard shot, so in typical dickish fashion, you cannot kill them and simply have to jump over them. The birds, on the other hand, fly around erratically, and some seem to have a pattern, and others don't. In addition, there doesn't seem to be any true spawn points, and they'll keep appearing at you as you keep shooting them down. If you can time it right, you can blast them right as they come on screen, but if not, be prepared to attempt to hit them with the one bullet you're allowed to fire. These attack patterns repeat from every stage, for the most part, well, at least from what I've seen. Sure, there are some different attack patterns, like the one thing that seems to hover directly below you until it falls down a hole, but for the most part, each stage has a standard flying creature that chases you and one that is too low to the ground to hit it. Secondly, the level design is pretty lame. Some stages feel like straight, flat areas that don't require a lot of jumping around. Others have blocks strewn around randomly, like in the space station area. But even with that, I still ended up falling through here. How the hell did I die? What did I fall through? It may not be apparent, but these blocks with cracks are dangerous and that you'll fall right through. So what's the point in keeping a block there? Why not just show empty space? Was this made deliberately confusing just to steal one of your lives? I wouldn't doubt it. And there's no continue, so if you reach this point and lose your final life to that bullshit, back to the beginning. But I will say that there's something interesting about this game that you don't normally see in games not endorsed by the Big N. It has almost an open world feel to it. So as you reach the end of the stage, you'll see a door, but you're not always required to go through it. Many levels allow you to keep going, bypassing the door and staying in your current stage. You do have to find various items that will allow you to proceed, like keys or other items. I ended up in this area, and couldn't make this jump back to the entrance. Was it a trap? Sure, it looks like it. Apparently there's an item that lets you teleport around, and also one that lets you jump higher. Maybe I missed it, but I think it's more so that the bad level design just showed its ugly head again. I will give Color Dreams props for the open world idea, which is more than I can say they did in most of their other games. I just wish it was implemented a bit better. The only other thing that's really worth mentioning is the music and sound effects. Strangely, Color Dreams opted for a classic music theme for its background music. I can't say I'm too much of a fan. It just doesn't fit. Again, it's better than the pitiful stuff I typically hear in unlicensed games, but it's still not great or memorable. As for the sound effects, well, listen to them. Yeah, they probably came right from the 2600. I will give you a bonus and talk about the DOS version quickly. I'm assuming that this game was the original work and that the NES game was a port. The title screen of the PC game says it was created in 1988, while the NES game was 1989. So it's logical to me, I guess. At least the same guy worked on both versions. The DOS game is pretty choppy as far as scrolling goes. There's no music other than what's on the title screen, and the Blastola Cola is seen right from the start of the game. The playfield is also much smaller, with the status bar taking up an ungodly amount of real estate. Finally, let's talk about the comic himself. Is that me, or does he look suspiciously familiar? Maybe a long-lost brother of a famous plumber? Seems to cover his identity with that silly helmet, but other than that, yeah, I think he definitely looks like he was ripped straight from Mario. And that's it from the Adventures of Captain Comic. Again, it's definitely not the worst game I've ever played, but it was far from fun for me. I didn't even finish it, though I kinda tried, as I kept getting lost and eventually you get so swarmed with enemies that it's hard not to take damage. As is normal, it's pretty difficult to recommend most unlicensed game. This one really isn't any different. Only get this one if you can have a strange addiction to games not officially released or if you can find it dirt cheap. Final score? 5 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.